This is my 21.2 Ergonomic Aid, Ellis Chapman. Introduction. Uh, Ergonomic aids are used in sport to help athletes increase their ability to perform. Some aids will increase performance ability physiologically through injection of anabolic steroids to boost muscle bulk or human growth hormone, which stimulates growth of bone, muscles, and cartilage. This would be important when participating in heptathlon events requiring power, such as the 100-meter sprints or the javelin, as it will give you extra force to power your legs and push you harder whilst running, and you can get the power and force behind the javelin in order to push it further. There are also some psychological changes you can make, such as listening to music to hype you up for performance and improve arousal levels, so you can energize your muscles early with oxygen, so that they're ready to straight away at the beginning of performance. They're ready to go. Uh, However, there are many times in which an athlete will hype themselves up too much or over arouse, and they'll be too hyped to make rash decisions. This can be dangerous, as the rash decisions be made when thoughts are not processed properly and they're rushed. It could be such as false starting due to the over arousal when you're eager to run in the 100 meters. Um, Ergonomic aids are also available to improve the way you train and the gains you make through training before your main event. Things such as carbohydrate loading will energize you to train harder and ready yourself before performance properly, and you do not run out of consumable energy during participation. Mechanical aid sources and equipment of which are readily available to enhance your sporting capabilities, such as lifting dead weights to improve strength or power, so you're ready for a sprint event. Um, your recovery from fatigue or injury can also be aided ergonomically through pharmaceuticals such as narcotics and painkillers. However, some ergonomic aids are also legal and some are not. And this has split athletes up from the ones who want to cheat in order to gain success and the ones who want to catch them. So the key organisations who are helping catch the cheaters, WADA, or the World Anti-Doping Agency, is the main organisation put together to fight against doping athletes, creating its own prohibited list in which athletes cannot breach if they wish to participate and compete in professional or higher tier sports. This list is updated regularly so that people cannot beat the system by updating and modifying drugs, so that they firstly aren't on the list, and then athletes can technically use them without breaching that list. Then you have the International Olympic Committee, supreme authority amongst the Olympic Games, with responsibilities such as developing sport to be able for all people and from sport good ethics. And this good ethics come under not doping whilst competing. The IC have stated that fight against doping is a top priority. They've increased the number of tests which are done on athletes. They've created 1,400 more tests since Athens in 2004 and London in 2012, and this is to keep on top of the cheaters who will keep developing drugs in order to beat the tests. UK Sport invests national lottery funding into sport that need extra money to make the sport grow, but also help funding of Olympic Paralympic athletes. Some of this funding is also put into the UK Anti-Doping's 100% Me programme, which pleads to help to athletes to not cheat and also targets children who may not be as clued up and knowledgeable about the effects of cheating. The UK Anti-Doping Agency is also a place of part of English Athletics. UK Anti-Doping have 200 staff who will help athletes in achieving clean competition. Staff including phlebotomists, doping control officers, and chaperones. So the ergonomic aids overview. Pharmaceuticals will be used in order to help recovery after participation or mask injury performance. They may be taken by consumption through the mouth or into the digestive system, or they can be injected to get a quicker access to the bloodstream. This category is very skeptical due to how many pharmaceuticals are placed on the World Anti-Doping Agency's prohibited list due to how they advance performance unfairly and unnaturally. Beta blockers, for example, are taken to decrease heart rate and effective anxiety due to focus and keep steady. This would be vital during performance like archery, where precision accuracy are vital, and being anxious with shaky nerves will decrease these skills and you'll become more off target. Anabolic steroids are taken pharmaceutically as well to enhance muscle and mass and strength. This would be needed in heptathlons, power events, like javelin, so that athletes can ultimately throw the javelin further due to the more powerful muscle fibers. Physiological ways are safer than pharmaceutical ways. They boost athletes physically through techniques such as massage, which help release muscle tension and make sure that athletes do not suffer injuries and tears due to that tension. Mechanical ways use machines and objects in order to boost performance. This may be through altitude chambers, increasing athletes' hemoglobin count so that more oxygen can be carried to the muscles. However, clothing can also be seen as a mechanical advantage, and compression shirts are commonly used to keep muscles in place so they are less likely to tear, but they can also improve blood flow by pushing through the blood to help oxidize muscles. Psychological ways are used to help them perform mentally before performance. This may be due to anxiety of a big competition or nervous about repeating an injury. Music is the most common of these, as mostly all performers will listen to music before it's on the other scale. It's on the other scale away from all the prohibited items and drugs, so many people do it. Nutritional aids are used through consumption, and this is could be through carb loading before an event to make sure that you, as an athlete, have enough carbohydrates to be made into energy when you're performing, so you don't run out or hit the wall, as it's known where athletes don't have any fuel or glycogen left to carry on. Oh, anabolic steroids. So these are usually injected into the body so that the effect on the muscles can be quicker and more outstanding. Steroids stimulate growth of the muscle to increase bulk and strength so that athletes may increase power and strength in their sports. This has been common in sports such as 100-meter javelin and heptathlon, as this requires power and increased force for around 10 seconds so that the athlete can push themselves further or quicker. Javelin athletes will also be able to throw the javelin further due to the force they have behind the javelin itself. However, there are many negative effects the steroids will have, such as paranoia and dramatic mood swings, which can be aggressive and violent. Not only will the athlete see these negative mental effects, if they're caught, the athlete may see a hefty ban, which may be as extensive as a lifetime ban. Athletes will go to extreme lengths to cheat with this aid due to its hidden availability, lengths such as spending 110 to 130 pounds for 25 amps of the steroid. Availability is scarce if you don't know where to find it, but many athletes who wish to cheat will have contacts linked into the drug. Human growth hormone, or HGH, is naturally made by the body in the pituitary gland, which usually spurs growth amongst children and adolescents. However, it is injected by athletes who wish to boost their muscle mass and is usually injected alongside anabolic steroids. HGH can also regulate the body composition and bodily fluid, sugar and fat metabolism, and it's thought to improve the function of the heart. At elite level, expense is not a difficulty, so its price of 50 to 150 isn't too much, as well as the anabolic steroids. So it's not too much of a problem, and availability they won't struggle with due to the contacts them as an athlete, a high-tiered athlete, they'd have. Due to the increase of muscle strength, high jumpers may use this because of how they would want to have more power and fast glycolytic muscles, so that they're able to jump further than their contestants. However, use and consumption of the drug is strictly prohibited by WADA, and unless prescribed, use may cause a hefty ban, which may be lifetime again. Use of out of the sport as well, HGH is frowned upon because of it's technically a Class C drug. But clothing compressions. Compression clothing is used by athletes and performers for a number of reasons for their body. Commonly, athletes may wear these items as it's cold and the tightness keeps the heat in, but more physiologically, they're used to increase blood flow to working muscles, as movement in the tight areas will push blood through. The compression also means that muscles are kept more compact, so that athletes are less likely to suffer from tears and strains. These factors will help a heptathlon athlete because sports such as the high jump needs extensive stretching to be able to reach for a further distance, and because the athlete is given 3 tries and it's vital the high jumper does not pull an important muscle, stopping them from further participating. Expense is also very little, as you may pick up items for like £10 or £30, even for the top quality stuff, like Under Armour in the slide. Negative, however, is of these is how movement may be slightly restrained, and again, high jump centimeters count for gold medals and world records. This may not help, and you may lose a cumulative measurement. But these compression outfits are regularly used due to how evidence has been found that performance is dramatically effective, and use for recovery and warmth is perfectly fair. Music is a psychological aid due to how it affects the participant mentally, and in this case, depending on genre, music can hype up the athlete and raise their arousal levels so that they're ready to perform. Athletes would listen to usually upbeat music before participating to get adrenaline and testosterone moving around the body, which will ultimately raise your heart rate, raising arousal, so that blood is being pumped around the body so muscles are ready to use oxygen and the energy they're converting. Raising arousal is important so that you do not start your performance sluggish, and you make more of an impact in the field of play. However, over-arousing caused by becoming too hyped through music can cause the athlete to make rash decisions. So, in 100 meters, when the athlete's about to waiting for the gun to go off, they make the false start because they're too. They made the rash decision to do that because they're too hyped up and too keen to go on. Legality is completely fair, and many athletes do it. Many amateurs do it as well. Expense as well is fairly cheap. You don't have to have the beats that, or I guess, they're expensive like LeBron James is wearing in the slide. But I guess you'd also need the electronic device as well, which kind of racks up the price. But for high-end athletes, that sort of stuff is usually sponsored to them, so money isn't too much of a problem. Caffeine. Caffeine is consumed in order to create a stimulating effect on the athlete through the central nervous system. This ultimately increases reaction time and releases the sense of fatigue. And because of this, up until 2004, it was placed among anti-doping agencies' prohibited list. How it was taken off? It was taken off as there wasn't huge evidence that performance dramatically increased, and caffeine stays in the system for up to 48 hours, meaning many athletes would find it hard to take and even enjoy if it wasn't if it was banned. However, recently, anti-doping agencies have been forced to seriously monitor the intake of caffeine on athletes, as they're feeling that it's seen a huge rise in consumption. With sports such as the high jump and javelin, caffeine will be very effective as the athletes have increased reaction time in which to throw the javelin or jump before it's considered a foul where they go over the line and they're disqualified. But in a negative for the athletes would be how if they followed a strict diet, they'd have to stay away from their favourite products such as Red Bull, even a cup of tea. Some athletes maybe even be sponsored by Red Bull, but they wouldn't even be able to take it or show it off because of the caffeine inside those drinks. Caffeine is available for all people, and it's usually regularly by amateur athletes because of the availability at all shops and how it's only around a fiver if you want uh, a batch of coffee. Finally, carbohydrate loading, used before an event in an attempt to store your body full of energy so that you do not run out and hit the wall mid-performance. Very popular amongst athletes and everyday sports people who may do a marathon. Not only because of the physiological improvements it can make through consumption, but how it's also legal. Some nutritional consumables are placed on the WADA's prohibited list, and carbohydrates, of course, are not. This would be vital and ready to perform for a heptathlon event, as a busy 7 events over a 2-day schedule would leave little time to consume enough carbohydrates that you need to use over the events. A lot of energy will be needed. It is easy to do as the price is very little, as you can eat bulks of pastas, potatoes and breads collectively cheap, which can be a positive due to how it will allow for non-professional athletes to compete with little expense. Buying carbs are easy as well, available at all supermarkets, have cheaper prices than others. Thank you.